All right, for this first game, we're going to need a suggestion from the audience of something you'd give a presentation on.
Audience. Civil War.
The Civil War, we can do that. First slide. Wrong computer. All right, for the Civil War, this is how many casualties we had. Of course, it was the Civil War, so the US definitely won. Surprisingly, the UK, they did have some troops here, but Canada was there also. The Canadians and the British, they had quite a fight. Next slide, please. And during the Civil War was the invention of the rubber duck ship. It had no guns, but it was a very good deterrent. Next slide, please. And as we can see, the Civil War had some ill effects. Children from 2 to 5 is the same as children from 1.5 to 5 in Canada. We really don't understand the correlation between the Civil War and a loss of a half a year. But that's what we just have to live with. Next slide, please. And this is the picture of the sun during the first day of the Civil War. It was blue. Next slide, please. And of course, they did have USB hard drives. These were used mainly for intelligence. As you can see, they're very old-fashioned, and well, they only stored about a megabyte. But at the time, that's all you needed. Next slide, please. I am going to hand this off to Professor Origami from the Institute of Texas.
How y'all doing? Alright. So we got Texas. As you know, it was a part of the Civil War. We see green areas where Texas is amazing. Red areas where the amazing gets really strong. Next slide, please. Alright. So here we have a blue line that divides 216 and 290. This represents Texas being undivided of the Civil War. And divided by a blue line of Union troops. Next slide, please. Now here's where we see what we was all fighting for. The interstate highway system. Some thought there was a racial motivator, but we all know that ain't true. Next slide, please. And here is no laughing matter. This is everything Texas is against. It's everything Christianity is against. Why would a woman want to be a dinosaur? I just can't see no sense in it. Next slide, please. And here is everything Texas is for. It's like hot rods met women. It's everything this good Lord wants us on this earth. Next slide, please. And here's where I have to hand it off, regretfully, to my expert on sine waves, Mr. Kent.
Good evening, everybody. As you can see here, you can see that as the Civil War progressed, the violence just escalated and escalated as it went back and forth across the lines of the country. As you can see, next slide please, this eventually resulted in the union of the country as seen by the union of this apple and this orange. You see, the Union and the Confederacy were like an apple and orange, and they all didn't really compare. Next slide, please. Major fighting force in our armies were Kung Fu frogs. You see, Kung Fu frogs also have natural poison, and the poisons were very useful in stitching together our apple-orange country. Next slide. Of course, we had to engineer these frogs in secret laboratories hidden behind bookshelves. Now, we have some very nice shrubbery to keep our frogs on. So, next slide please. We can, in fact, make the earth a very happy place. I think it might actually be stoned from our frog materials. Next slide, please. And I need to hand it off to Professor Lumerton from the University of Minnesota.
Oh yeah, hey, I really like being here because the best thing about the Civil War is that after those frogs did stuff, everyone was happy. The happiness just goes off the charts, you know. Next slide. And with all this happiness, all the people from the north and the south could go to their farms, pick up any kind of apple orange product they wanted, and make sure that they can drive it back in their fancy vehicles, which were also a big part of the Civil War. Next slide. And here is the thing which could set it all off. If the Civil War didn't end so peacefully, someone would flip this switch and turn off the sun. It was blue as we know on the first day, and then it was the color it is now, which is bright. But if you turned off the sun, people wouldn't be able to grow their apples. And then their happiness would be down. Next slide. And this here is the victory ride of Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee knows exactly what he's doing, being an Asian man, riding, carrying a motorcycle on his back, so that Lincoln could ride with him. Next slide. And this is the new export of the United States after the Civil War. You see, it wasn't just apple and oranges, but it was also a very, very, very good supply of computer products. USB ports for the USB drives, I believe, which now have up to 2 gigs from what I hear. Next slide. And from there, I'm going to let the true expert on the Civil War wrap this up, Mr. Bobson.
Thank you, thank you. And as you can see here, we have different patterns from where the funding for the Civil War happened. As you know, we fought over apples and oranges. Next slide, please. As you can see here, people were torn apart, and they said they will find each other, and in some cases, they did, and killed each other. Next, please. And as you can see here, the Civil War, the funding for the Civil War not only paid for artillery, but also apparently paid for our men in white suits. Next, please. Apparently, though, we needed to find more research for this when we had our funding for more research for artillery, and unfortunately, they said this was our best thing that we could think of, and, well, yeah. Next, please. Okay. And as you can see here, our artillery would try to, thank you, now I can see better. As you can see, some of the funding also paid for some of our hideouts where we had our secret laboratories for the frogs and trying to make apples and oranges compatible, which, did that really work at all?
No.
Nah, I kind of figured. Next, please.
That's it.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, and we hope you enjoyed the presentation, and support the Civil War.
Banana!
Trapped inside of breakfast time!
Oh my God, it's like Groundhog's Day, but on the time of day.
Maybe we just stuck at Denny's.
I've eaten this breakfast before. This all seems familiar.
Change.
This all seems very new.
Well, then have the lady take it back.
Change.
Well, then have the lady go cook it some more.
Okay, wait first.
Change.
Boss boy.
You need something?
Yeah, I was wondering if I could get a different breakfast.
Well, the cook's out right now.
Change.
Well, the cook's in the bathroom right now.
Change.
The cook is having a smoke right now.
Change.
We don't have a cook.
Who made my breakfast?
Change.
Who made my food?
I don't even think we should worry about it. I think we should just not pay and leave.
Change.
I think we should get up and slap this bastard.
Change.
I think we need to take this man and pull down his pants.
Change.
I think that this man should get a medal for bringing you food that was no cook.
I am pretty brave.
Change.
I did bring it.
Change.
Look at it, it's there.
Change.
Hi.
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 Change.
Goodbye.
That better? Okay, this is for everybody. We're going to play press conference. Sam is going to be, we're going to be giving a press conference to Sam, and he has no idea, but the thing is, he has no idea what he's giving a press conference for. So, Sam is not informed of his identity, and he must figure out exactly who he is by the questions that we all ask. And so, since he's not looking, I will reveal what we're going to give him a press conference on.
I like it. I like it. That is so
Okay,
cool.
so are we all set?
Microphone works hard.
Well then, whenever you're ready, start the press conference.
All right, thank you for coming here today. Let's keep this short. Questions?
Mr. President, my first thought is, how big is it?
So apparently I'm the president, but not the president, who has a average to medium-sized thing.
Okay.
That's for her.
Mr. President, how many did you knock? How many things did you knock down on your way?
About 16, but they're miniatures.
So, I'm just curious how Japan is dealing with the defection.
They had a tough time, but then they replaced me with a giant mecha.
How will this affect the fish population?
Well, I don't eat that many, but my kids do. I'm actually allergic, so if it were up to me, fish population would stay the same. Maybe, let the Eskimos keep their fishing.
What would your solution to the current energy crisis be?
Get one of those seismometer things that'll just jump up and down several times.
What is your feeling on nuclear energy?
I love nuclear energy. It makes America great. And also, the underlying countries that also have uranium.
Are we done? Yeah, I think. Okay, since we're done, who are you?
Godzilla that came
Correct.
to America.
My next question would be, who would be your biggest opposition?